we're here with Sierra Hall, and Sarah, thank you so much for making time with us again. We had a technical glitch the other evening when we talked, and appreciate you joining us again. And we talked the other night a little bit about the pandemic and what you did during it, and you kept pretty busy. A project of your own, and then a lot of other stuff that you were doing. Just tell us a little bit about what you've done in the past year or so.
Yeah, well, I'm not one to necessarily sit around and twiddle my thumbs too much anyway. I really enjoy staying busy in some way, or one way or another. When it comes to music, there's always like so many different aspects of it that I love, whether it's songwriting or recording or just, you know, general practice, collaborations, all that kind of stuff. So I was lucky to find a lot of different outlets during my time off the road to just stay busy. Of course, there was a lot of live streams and things like that going on as well. So I feel like I spent a lot of time making videos and putting stuff up on my YouTube channel, or doing live streams for various venues that were just trying to keep content out for all the folks that maybe were going to come out to shows, and then those shows got canceled. So in some cases, we did live streams and concerts virtually instead. So that workshops here and there is a lot of different stuff, but primarily a lot of co-writing too, on Zoom, just like this, which was one of the highlights for me, having more time to write than usual.
And you, of course, had your latest album come out during that period, and uh, really haven't had a chance yet to get out on the road behind it much.
I know.
Tell folks a little bit about it.
Yeah, so my record 25 Trips came out. Actually, it came out right before everything sort of shut down here in the States. It was about 2 weeks after the album was released, and we had just started the tour, and we were going to have a really busy year touring all over the place in support of that record. And then, of course, that didn't get to happen. So I'm hoping that this fall, fingers crossed that everything stays good and safe, where we can still, get together and make that tour kind of finally happen in October and November here in the States. But yeah, that was my first record in 5 years. It had been a while since I'd put out new music, and that record kind of explores my singer-songwriter self, but also instrumentally. There's sort of a little bit of exploring that took place on that record with different instrumentation than I had recorded with in the past, and I loved getting to make it, and was really excited to get out there and play it live. But it's kind of nice. I've been able to start to get back out there now and play a little bit as of this year, which has been really good.
Is it fair to say that you kind of that this album kind of takes a little of what you did in Weighted Mind and just stretches even the boundaries a little further? I mean, Weighted Mind, you're
Yeah,
nominated for a Grammy for folk, not for bluegrass. Uh,
sure.
and this album is really not, certainly not traditional bluegrass, and be hard pressed, as we talked about before, to call it bluegrass, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
really interesting sounds. Talk a little bit about what led you down the path to drums and some of the electrical instrumentation that was added in. It's not hard to, not surprising when you pick up that Fender, because we've seen you do that before, and we've seen you with Ronnie and Sam and those fellows, pulling out the same acts. But just tell us a little bit about what led you that way.
Well, I've always loved all different styles of music, and I feel really lucky that I was so rooted in bluegrass early on in my career, and a lot of the traditional side of bluegrass. I think there's something really special about being able to be part of that community, and all the kind of foundation that you develop, musical foundation that you sort of develop early on as a musician. And it's such an amazing form of music to sort of have as a launching pad for also doing other things. And I've always loved a lot of different styles of music. And I think after sort of really sinking my teeth into bluegrass for, the first at least 10 or so years of my musical world were kind of nothing but that. So I learned so much from that. And then from there, just found myself being kind of drawn in different directions as a songwriter. As I got more and more into lyric writing and thinking about songs that would suit my voice, I sort of went, well, I've never really felt like a traditional bluegrass singer. You know, a lot of um, the bluegrass I grew up listening to, there's obviously some wonderful women out there making bluegrass music, but there's a lot of male influence there too. And so I was oftentimes the harmony singer. Sometimes I was the only female in the jam, you know, and growing up, my brother sang a lot of lead and I would sing harmony, which is one of my favorite things in the world to do. But when I would start to be a vocalist on my own and think about what I really wanted to say, I sort of found myself desiring um, songs that fit my place in life a little bit more, I guess. So through songwriting, I just found an outlet to sort of express that and sort of write what I felt like I wanted to say, and it just necessarily didn't come out traditional bluegrass. You know, it was a sort of, I think, taking all the other influences that I've loved as a listener of music for so long. And then, of course, you know, my time at Berkeley and then getting to collaborate on my Weighted Mind record with Bela Fleck as the producer, and sort of deciding to make a record that really evolved around the mandolin and my songwriting. It already sort of stripped everything away, and that bluegrass influence was there, but it wasn't necessarily, you know, you couldn't deem it a bluegrass record because it's kind of definitely more stripped down and built on other influences as a songwriter. So I think going through that whole process, and then as I started to add things back, well, there was even more room to explore, because in the process of touring my Weighted Mind record, I did a few different tours where I would have different guest musicians. I had, you know, an electric guitarist come out with me some. I had a saxophone player, this guy Eddie Barbash, who's actually, I never would have thought saxophone would be the instrument that I would choose to collaborate with, but he sounds like a bluegrass fiddler because he loves bluegrass. So he plays all these fiddle tunes on the saxophone. And so really I was more kind of looking toward the musicians that I wanted to collaborate with and be inspired by more than the instrumentation, I guess. And so through that, I just felt like I was being opened up more and more to these different possibilities. So I think by the time it came the moment to record 25 Trips, I'd sort of been through this whole, you know, journey of taking everything from the bluegrass band that I'd learned, stripping everything away, focusing on songwriting, and then starting to build instrumentation back in slowly through from duo to trio to now I'm touring with, you know, there's a 5-piece band, including myself. So
Now, you mentioned Bela, and that's kind of a good place to transition to. You know, you're getting back out on the road again now, and you know, part of that, the bluegrass fans don't need to worry. You haven't abandoned bluegrass. Part of your touring this year is going to be with Bela, and then also
yeah.
the Sturgill Simpson project that you worked on. And I know you won't be able to do as many dates because of that, but tell us a little bit about that conflict, first of all, and then the second question. You know, when Sturgill did that live stream, he said it was the best bluegrass band ever assembled. I'm curious, which do you think is the better band, that band or the band that Bella's put together that you're with? They're both awful all
Oh
star.
my gosh.
And I'm going to throw in a third option.
Okay.
When you're visiting with the McCrory family and just everybody sitting around picking.
Oh, you're wanting me to rate these? You got to be kidding me. There's no
Well,
way to do that.
I don't want to play that. What's that? Kiss, Mary, Kill,
here's
or whatever.
here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I've had the chance to see the Del McCree band several times. Well, many times over the years. I've been lucky to do a lot of shows with them or concerts where we've been on the same bill, sitting with them. They're practically like family at this point. And seeing Del McCree at both the Telluride Bluegrass Festival this year and just 2 weeks ago at the Rocky Grass Festival out in Colorado. That's two recent times I've got to see them play. I think they're probably the best traditional bluegrass band on earth. Okay, like it's hard to say. Like bluegrass like that is its own breed. Like Dale McCoury is really from that early generation, you know, toured with Bill Monroe himself. He kind of embodies all the things that a lot of folks in my generation, we just don't have that same life experience that somebody like Dale had. We're kind of a different time, and so it's, I feel so lucky to like live in a time where I can watch that and learn from that and be around that family. So I, you know, always blown away by just how good it is. Um, you know, fast forward to the Sturgill record I was a part of and the Baylor record I was part of, and trying to like, you know, tour with both of them outside of my own projects. So the Sturgill record is completely different than the Baylor record. Okay, the Sturgill record, we went in and we recorded at least, you know, the volume one, Cutting Grass. There's two different records like that, but volume one, it was like 20 tracks, um, and literally no rehearsal, hearing none of the music in advance. It's all kind of spur of the moment, recorded to feel very live and you know, mostly melodies that you can follow, that you could hear the song through once, you could play it, and that's part of the beauty of it, that it's a familiar, but yet he has a really amazing catalog of songs. And as a songwriter, I was really impressed by, you know, getting to dive into his catalog, because we recorded bluegrass versions of songs that he's already released, so his fans already know and love all this music. And of course it was an amazing band, um, and so there's something to be said about that raw energy that's not perfected, it's not rehearsed, and it's not overly complex music in terms of, you know, chords and soloing and things like that. It's all very familiar feeling, but that's part of what makes it so great. But he does it with such heart and energy, and the band's awesome. Okay, on the other side of the coin, I just played the Rocky Grass Festival out in Colorado with Bela Fleck, and we spent, I can't even tell you how many hours we spent rehearsing that music. There's no way to play it without rehearsing hours and hours and hours and hours to remember an equal amount of music. You know, it's like there's 19 tracks on that record as well, so they're both really long projects, but it's just a completely different thing. You know, there's things that are more orchestrated here and there. Of course there's moments for people to improv and, you know, have their improvised moment in the sun, so to speak, but there's a lot of things that, you know, the band is relying on you to play your part correctly, and you're relying on, you know, this person to do their thing right. So and it's all instrumental, whereas there's no instrumental tracks on the Sturgill record, so I get to sing harmony over there, and it's, you know, it's definitely more of a traditional bluegrass thing. And Bela's is Bela inspired bluegrass, which is all instrumentally driven and kind of supercharged arrangements and stuff. So it's like it's a very different mindset between the two, but I can say they're both amazing projects to get to be a part of for that reason. And I love that you kind of get to flex different muscles, I guess, musical muscles.
And you know, you're gonna tour some with your band, but then uh, come the fall, you're heading to Europe, early winter, late fall,
Yeah,
and that's a singer-songwriter tour. You said maybe Justin will, if you can talk him into coming along, but
we'll see, you know.
what is that like for you? Is it, you know, you talked earlier about how you stripped all the bluegrass out of your music. Is this kind of a similar process then? You're going to have to strip all the excess out and come back to just the basic, you know, the songs as you wrote them? Is that what's
Well, I wouldn't ever say that I strip all the bluegrass out, because I don't think that's possible. I think that's such a big
well, no,
part of like
I
who
meant
I
because of
am,
the way
that
you said about that earlier with your writing. But
well, I think I don't think that it's necessarily what I meant by that is not necessarily that I'm stripping the bluegrass out. I think that it's such a, it's kind of like having a southern accent, you know, it's with you everywhere you go, and it's part of who you, it's, bluegrass is part of who I am as a musician, and I'm very proud of that, and I don't try to run from that. But I think there's times to, let other influences in as well. So I think, like, if anything, it still feels rooted in that, but is influenced by other genres. And yeah, I get excited about the thought of getting to come over and do a solo tour. Of course, I love Europe, and every time I've had an opportunity to go over there and play, it's been a magical experience. And one of the one of the things I got to do in early 2020 before it shut down was come to Glasgow and be part of the Celtic Connections Festival, and I got to do the transatlantic tour with Jerry Douglas and Allie Bain and play with some amazing musicians, and I just loved every minute of that. So I've been kind of, you know, eagerly anticipating when I would get to come back, and so fingers crossed. But I think that yeah, being able to have sort of a more solo setting to perform always, there's a little bit more musical responsibility sometimes, but at the because you're the only one on stage, but at the same time, there's a lot of freedom in it, because if you choose to, change an arrangement or change the set list completely in the middle of the show, you can do that because you're the only one on stage. You could just take requests all night long if you wanted to. So it's kind of a fun thing to be that free to sort of follow the spirit, the musical spirit in that moment.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you. I think we'll catch up with you probably with Bella at Belfast.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
We're looking. Yeah, I'm excited for that as well. He's always so much fun, and it's just a standout band that he has together, and that was kind of why I asked, because the I mean, Sturgill's band is also just an incredible group of musicians, and that stream that you guys did. I'm shocked when you say how little rehearsal went into it, because it is so good, and that the album is so good. It just is amazing.
Really talented group of musicians.
So, well, Sierra, thank you so much for your time, and stay safe, and good luck to you and Justin, and have a great tour.
Thank you so much. Great to chat with you.
Thanks. See you now.
See ya.